Well, despite my last couple of videos, I wanted to take a few minutes and actually talk about some of the very good games that have come out in the last few years. So I figure we've had enough negativity around some of the games that have recently come out or might be coming out in the near future, because there have been an awful lot of games that have come out in the last few years that have been really, really good. And some of the best games that have come out in the last few years have been my favorite genre, which are sandbox games. Now, sandbox games, probably know, are games where basically you jump in and you can do anything, anywhere, anytime, make the world what you want. If you want to play it as an RPG, you can. If you want to play it as just a open world loot and shoot, you can. If you want to play it as a crafting game, you can. If you want to build huge contraptions, you can. So pretty much the only thing that limits these games is, in a lot of ways, your own imagination. Now, there are a few of these games on this list that I'm going to do, and let me tell you, it's not often that I do a list of games, but I figured if I was going to do anything for a list, it would be this kind of game. So this is a list of games that I think fall into the sandbox category. You may not, I'm not sure, but they all have a number of different things in common. They have crafting mechanisms, they have very few directed quests, or if there are directed quests or an actual quest line, you can just abandon it in the very beginning if you want to and just go do whatever you feel like doing. Some of these are going to be probably unpopular games that I put on this list, but these are the games that I have played that I think fall into the category of good games, well done sandbox games where you have a combination of crafting mechanisms, of action, of story, if there is a story involved, of imagination, playability, graphics, pretty much everything rolled into one as far as games that I think are really good sandbox games. Now, like I said, some of these games are going to be unpopular and some of these games are not going to be on your list. Remember, this is just my list. You don't have to like it. You don't have to enjoy these games. If you don't want to enjoy these games, don't. If you have other games you think should be on the list, by all means, tell me in the comments when you get done watching the video. There are a few that I have left conspicuously absent because of development issues or the fact that I haven't played the game, or I've watched gameplay of it and I just don't like the mechanics, or any number of different reasons that I may have left it out. I don't like the game company that makes it. I don't like some of the decisions they've made as far as the game goes, or as far as their model for the game goes. So there's a number of things that I've left out of this list, and if I put everything in the list I wanted to, it'd be a 20-part list and 3 hours long. So we're just going to do this as a standard, normal, best 5 games in the sandbox genre that I think have ever been made. So without any further ado, let's get going. Let's get right into it. Let's see if these best 5 sandbox games ever that I have on my list are on yours as well. And right off the bat, we start with a game that a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, this isn't a sandbox game, this is an ARPG. And in a lot of ways, you're right. However, I think that Fallout 4 falls in both the ARPG, well, actually 3 categories, ARPG, RPG, and sandbox category. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of sandbox mechanics in Fallout 4 that you find along the way. You find the fact it's completely open world. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, however you want. Doesn't matter. If you really want to go south of Boston and go get killed by Deathclaws, you can do that. However, if you're really good at the game, you can probably do that and get away with it. There's crafting mechanics as far as the settlement system, making your own weapons, making your own armor, making your own food. There's a survival aspect to the game that if you go in the survival difficulty, you have hunger and thirst and can get diseases and all these different things. So, in my mind, Fallout 4 does fall in the category of a sandbox style game. It's a survival sandbox game in addition to being an ARPG and or an RPG and a story-driven game. Because quite honestly, you don't have to do any of the story. You can jump out of the vault and go wander off and do your own thing. But you could not even touch the story if you don't want to. You don't have to go talk to Preston Garvey. You don't have to go save the Brotherhood of Steel from the Cambridge police station. You don't have to talk to Codsworth. You don't have to go find companions. You don't have to do any of this. The only person I can think of you really have to run into to open up the whole world, well, 2 people. I guess 3 people. You have to run into Piper to get into Diamond City. You have to, at some point, pick a faction if you want to get involved in the Institute storyline. And you have to side with either the Institute or the Brotherhood of Steel momentarily to be able to get into the Mass Fusion building to the very top to be able to complete that portion of it. So if you want to complete the game traditionally, yes, there is a storyline that you have to follow, but you don't have to. You can go wandering off and do whatever you feel like, however you feel like doing it. You really don't have to talk to anybody, honestly. I mean, there's maybe, like I said, 3 to 5 characters that you have to absolutely interact with to be able to push the plot along enough to get to the point where you can get into the sandbox aspects of the game. And as far as a sandbox game goes, the graphics are incredible. I mean, for 2015. Now, granted, this game came out 3 years ago, so this is not necessarily one of the newer games that have come out. I still put it in the new category because I'm looking at the last anywhere from 5 to 7 years is when the sandbox survival open world genre has really come to fruition. And Fallout 4 falls in that category. The graphics in it are very, very good. The gunplay is okay. It's not top notch, but the gunplay in the Fallout series has never been the thing that you look for. The crafting mechanics actually in the game are very good as far as your armor and weapons and food and all that goes. The crafting UI, the crafting systems, all of them make sense. So that's really nice. I like the character models. I like the open world feel that you can pretty much go wherever you want to and do things in whatever order you'd like, or not at all. The DLCs for it were also fantastic. Like, Far Harbor is, I think, the second best DLC that's ever come out for any Fallout game behind Lonesome Road. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Old World Blues? Old World Blues, you want to talk about something that was unimmersive. Suddenly going from the world of Fallout and New Vegas and then going into Old World Blues is just really jarring for some reason. So that, I don't think, is necessarily the best thing as far as like the DLCs for it is. The DLC was just very, very jarring for Old World Blues. Now, there are some issues with Fallout 4, obviously. The AI is very buggy. The quests that you're on sometimes bug out as well. If you choose to do quests, there are environmental issues, there's stability issues. There's a lot of Bethesda bugs in the game. But coming from Fallout 3 and New Vegas to Fallout 4, it was a much smoother experience with their creation engine that they've been using for a long time. They improved the creation engine, they made it a better game. The atmosphere is amazing. Like, Boston feels like Boston. It feels like an alternate version of Boston. You walk into Fenway Park in Diamond City. Spoilers. Fenway Park is Diamond City. Sorry if anyone hasn't played the game. You walk into Fenway Park and it looks and feels like Fenway Park. You walk downtown in Boston and you look around. There's the Common, the church, some of the streets, the way that they're lined up, some of the landmarks in there. Now, granted, there's things that aren't in the real world. There's the Mass Fusion building and a few other things. But there's so much of what is actually Boston in the game that it really feels real. And the enemies in the game that you come across make you afraid. It gives you an actual fear of losing everything you've got on you or losing progression or whatever it is. I don't know how many times I'm playing Fallout 4 to die somewhere to a bunch of super mutants and then get reloaded back at base and realize I just lost a half an hour of gameplay. So that really gives you that feeling that I don't want to lose any kind of progression. To me, this was my first Fallout game, and I loved it. And then I got New Vegas, and I loved that one too. So yeah, there are issues with the game, and then there's the Creation Club and all those different things. And there is a lot of story that intrudes on you while you're trying to just go do your own thing, especially with President Garvey wanting to help you go help out more settlements. So there are things that intrude on your sandbox feel that you want, and I really think that Fallout 4 was trying very hard to be both a sandbox game and an RPG and didn't quite catch either of them. But as far as sandbox games go, I've had hundreds of hours of entertainment in Fallout 4. I've loved the game. It deserves a spot on this list at number 5, at the very least. A little less on the intrusive quests, a little less as far as bugs, would have been higher, but it deserves to be on the list at number 5. Oh boy, here we go. I'm getting ready for some angry comments down below in the comments section here. Yep, I'm putting 7 Days to Die at number 4 ahead of Fallout 4 because as a sandbox, pure sandbox game, 7 Days to Die beats out Fallout in this particular genre. There are 5 quests. That's it. That's the only quest you get, and they're right at the very beginning to help you make a bedroll, make a campfire, make some clothes, make some tools, and go talk to the trader, and then it says, all yours. I wash my hands of you. You go have fun with that. And as far as how the game plays, you want to talk about a game that is unforgiving. 7 Days to Die might be the single most unforgiving game on this list. Every time you turn around, you're being attacked by zombies. You're being beaten up by the environment. You're accidentally running into areas that I don't know if they're radioactive or what is going on, but they'll kill you dead if you walk into the wrong area. If you build your shelter even with a small weakness, there will be zombies coming at you. So the idea of the game, if you haven't played before, is you show up, you come to in the middle of nowhere, you have nothing on you, and zombies have overrun the planet. And now you have to survive. So within the first 7 days of the game, and game time, you run into the occasional zombie here or there. You might run into a small horde of 5 or 6. Typically not too terrible to deal with. If you've got a bow and arrow, if you've got a club or something like that, you can beat up on the zombies. That's fine. On the 7th day, however, there's a blood moon, and all of a sudden a horde of zombies in the hundreds comes and attacks your base, wherever your base happens to be or however you've built it. As you can see in the gameplay coming up here, I decided on this particular playthrough I was going to cower in a cave, put the door on it, and call it a day. So normally I'll go and try to find a settlement, or I'll go try to find a house, or I'll go try to find something defensible. This time, nope, I found a cave. I'm good. I'm perfectly okay with this cave. This is my new home. I live here now. So it's an interesting experience because the crafting system in the game is actually very intuitive, makes sense, but is also very difficult at the same time. It's very easy to get the hang of, but then if you want to craft more and more advanced machines or advanced contraptions or better buildings or better weapons or vehicles or anything you can think of that you want to build in this game, you can almost build anything short of an M1 Abrams tank. And I haven't played the game that deep. That might be an option. I don't know. But the game is, like I said, it's very unforgiving and it's very rough in the early going because you may have nothing but, 20 arrows and a club to deal with 15 or 20 zombies. And each zombie is going to take 4 or 5 arrows to bring him down unless you're really good at the aiming mechanism in this game and hit him in the head. The aiming mechanism in this game is very realistic, i.e. difficult. The combat in this game is very unforgiving. If a zombie comes up and swipes you in the head, you get hurt a lot. If you fall, you get hurt a lot. If you step in a fire, you get hurt a lot. You seeing a theme here? There's a lot of ways to get hurt in this game. There's a lot of ways to die in this game. So it's a very difficult game, but at the same time, it's also very rewarding just in the little things that you can do. So building a base. If you build your base right and the zombies come at you and you're able to drive them all off, you feel really good about yourself and you feel really good about your particular abilities and being able to actually outsmart the game to the point where you can survive. If you are able to go find a couple of items to make something like a gun, you feel really good about yourself. If you can upgrade tools, the game rewards you for exploration, it rewards you for risk-taking, and it rewards you for patience all at the same time. So all of those things it has going for it. It's actually a very well-done game as far as the mechanics goes, as far as the gameplay goes. It feels very realistic, and everything you do feels very impactful in the game, which is a rarity in any game, let alone in a sandbox game. The fact that they have those rewards built in so that there are things that will keep you going in the game. Very well done. Very nice. Now, let's talk about the things I don't like about the game. Well, the graphics are not great. Let's just say they're not great. I mean, the scenery, though, if you get a long view at everything, it feels very desolate. It feels very open. It feels very empty. You feel very alone. All those things are very, very good. But then you get a little bit closer and you see the poorly rendered plants and some of the sound effects aren't quite right. The zombies themselves are, I mean, the AI is not bad, but they're kind of dumb. I mean, if you lead them into a choke point like an alleyway, they'll just come at you one at a time. You just beat on until they go away. And then loot their bodies for all their stuff. So there's that. The difficulty level is jarring for people who are coming from other types of sandbox games into this one, because they throw you right into the deep end. there is no tutorial. You're just in and going. So, and then without a benefit of a map feature, if you notice my gameplay here, I get lost. I have my base built at a cave, and then I lose my cave. I have no idea where my cave went, so I have to build a little tower to be able to actually see from a distance to be able to tell what's going on and where I am. So there's no mapping features, which there aren't in a lot of survival games and in a lot of sandbox games and survival games. But in this one, it almost feels like, because it's so open and because your visibility line, your sight, lines of sight are so limited, it would really help have something other than the map feature. I mean, it'll tell you where your bed is, but if you've done something like put in a cave, you might be standing right on top of it and trying to figure out where'd my house go. So yeah, it may get too difficult for some people. And then after the first 7 days are over, things start ramping up. And then every 7 days, it gets a little bit tougher and a little bit tougher and a little bit tougher and a little bit tougher. And you have to continually progress. So you have this pressure on you to constantly get better, find more resources, get better weapons, get better armor, get more mobile, build a better base, upgrade your base, put in defenses. I mean, it really ratchets up the level of stress more and more and more and more and more and more and more as you go along. So this might turn a lot of people off. And as far as, like I said, the gameplay, it's very basic. Just survive. 5 quests, just go survive. It might be a little bit too basic. I would like maybe a few things going on that you could actually do. Maybe like a story mode would be good. You can play co-op, and you can play against other people, which is nice. But maybe like a story mode for those of us who want to get into that whole, zombie survivalist experience that loved, like, Z Nation and Walking Dead and all those shows. Because yes, you're into it, but there's really no, other than just surviving, the impetus for, like, is there a story here? Who was I? What's going on? Isn't really there. So a couple of issues that I can't put it any higher in the list than number 4. But as far as an open world survival sandbox game, 7 Days to Die definitely deserves a spot on the list. At number 3, I have The Long Dark. Now, you may have seen this game on Steam, or you may have seen some other people playing it on Twitch or on YouTube Gaming or Mixer or wherever. I picked it up on a lark. It was $20. In fact, I don't even know if it was $20. It might have been 15. It was very, very cheap. And I thought, okay, well, I've got a new game I want to play here. I've been playing some other games. I want to try something new. So I just sort of picked this one up on a lark when it was in early access. And I believe it's still in beta now, or maybe it's still in early access. I'm not sure. I opened it up, and immediately I was very impressed. I wasn't blown away, but I was very impressed with the way they had built the game. That the whole idea of the game is there's been some terrible disaster. You're stuck in the middle of Canada. It's freezing outside, and you're trying to get back to civilization and survive whatever this geomagnetic storm is that has come along and wrecked most of civilization. Good story, good idea, good premise, but then the execution of that premise is nothing short of just astounding. It's all of the things that you want in a sandbox game, as far as a little bit of risk, a lot of danger, a very in-depth crafting system, realistic metrics as far as hunger and thirst and everything like that. The thirst and the hunger, while they feel intrusive because you need to eat and drink and then sleep too, it doesn't feel so intrusive that you don't think it's realistic. So you can go for a while without eating or drinking something and then find a shelter and go in and be fine. But as far as the danger, you feel a palpable sense of danger, and you feel that palpable sense of, man, I got to find some water, or my guy's gonna die of thirst, or if I don't have something to eat, we're gonna die of hunger, or I've got to get out of this weather and find some shelter, or I'm gonna die of exposure. I mean, all of those things are built into the game so well, and then the game just kept getting a little bit better. So when they first started in early access, it was just a sandbox mode where you just go out and wander around and try to survive in the Canadian wilderness with all of the things in the Canadian wilderness that you would expect. You have really cold temperatures, you have wolves, you have bears, you have falling from high places. I mean, all these things will cause you to have issues, let's say. Now, it's not as extreme as 7 Days to Die. as far as some of the things that go on. But it's also got the added bonus that in 7 Days to Die you have zombies, and that's really about it. You don't really have a whole lot of other things that come after you other than zombies. In Long Dark, depending on your difficulty level, you could have wolves coming after you, bears coming after you. I mean, there are a lot of things out there in the wilderness that will straight up kill you if you're not careful. And the way that the game was built, as far as it's a very stylized game. It's unlike some of these other games that are trying to be very realistic and look realistic, and the graphics look realistic and have that gritty aspect to them. It's a very stylized kind of artwork that went into this game, and it was absolutely the right choice. It was absolutely the right choice. The art style in this game is fantastic. The developers should be credited for going the direction they did as far as that goes. The crafting mechanics are a little wonky at first because the keybinds are a little strange. You can go in and change some of your keybinds, but just the way you do certain things is a little strange sometimes, and the way things function are a little strange. But once you get used to it, it's actually it makes a lot of sense. And then you go to a different game and suddenly you're totally lost, and you're going, why doesn't spacebar open my decision wheel here? So, I mean, it has a lot of aspects of games that I really, really like. And it has a lot of aspects of games that I really don't like at the same time. So it's sort of a love-hate relationship. I'll pick it up and I'll play it for an hour, and then I'll get frustrated and put it down. But then a couple days later, I'll be like, I want to play Long Dark again. So I'll go back and play it again. There's certain parts of the game that really get on my nerves. You can't jump, for instance. There's no jump. There's no jump button. You can crouch, but you can't jump, which is really kind of irritating. The crafting mechanics take a while to get your head around. The fact that you could have a 95% chance of being able to do something correctly and then fail. It's just those are the kind of things that kind of irritate me about the game. But by the same token, just a lot of the things in the game make sense the way that they've been built, and it makes sense in the world that they have constructed, and it's all got a logical progression to it as far as what you can do. So you start off. Like maybe you start off in a gas station like I did in this particular playthrough, and you're like, haha, I started off in a house. This is fantastic. You can go loot everything. And then you walk outside and there's 3 more houses, and suddenly it becomes home invasion the game, and you go to everyone's house and rob them of all their stuff. And then you turn around and realize that you're carrying like 100 pounds of gear and you can't carry this much. And now you got to make decisions. What do I get rid of? What do I keep? What are my priorities? What do I absolutely have to have on me at all times? I need food, and I need water, I need a bedroll, and I need some basic kit. I need, a bow and arrow or a gun. If you happen to find a gun, great. But the problem is, when you find a gun, you might find 4 bullets, and that's all you've got for your playthrough is 4 bullets. So use them sparingly. Hope you're really good at this aiming mechanism. And this is also another game that has a realistic, i.e. difficult, aiming mechanism, where you have a lot of sway to your weapons. You don't really have an aiming reticle. It's really difficult to get your head around where your shots are going to go and what you need to do to be able to actually be better at hunting or be better at self-defense and those types of things. And there's a lot of tools that you have to get for the game to be able to actually make survival a viable option. So you need to find a hatchet, you need to find a hacksaw, you need to find a can opener, something as simple as a can opener, a knife. I mean, all these things that you kind of take for granted, that you suddenly are in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, well, I'm taking this can and I'm just bashing it open against this rock to try and open it, and that kind of works, but I've lost some of it on the ground, now I can't eat it. Or, I'd really love to be able to go dress this deer that's lying dead in the snow and take the meat with me, but I can't because I don't have a knife or I don't have anything sharp. So there's a lot of difficulty involved. It's another one of those games that, starting off, it's actually fairly easy, but as you go further and further along, it becomes a lot more difficult when resources are now at a premium versus at the very beginning of the game, depending on where you are, of course. But at the very beginning of the game, you've actually got some basic kit to start you with. But the further you go, the longer you go, the more tired you get, the more hungry you get. You can get afflicted by a disease. You could have parasites. You could fall and break your leg. Any number of things that could basically kill you, either slowly or quickly. And my favorite playthrough of this game, I was just on Sandbox mode and running through, and I lasted for 5 days, but then I found a house, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take this house. And they had a bunch of stuff in the house, and this is fantastic. House was in the middle of nowhere. The house was a trap because I ended up running out of food, running out of water. had no options and had to just sort of strike out in a random direction because I had no idea what was going on. And of course, I died in the wilderness, and that was the end of my playthrough. They did introduce a story mode for this game, so that for those of us who do want not only a sandbox game but also want a story game, the story mode is really good. It's a good story. It's a well done story, and it's a very good tutorial for the rest of the game to get you up for that survival aspect. So all in all, it's just an amazing, well done game. The soundtrack is beautiful. The visuals, too. You look at this aurora. Look at the aurora that's going around here. This is amazing. Just the colors and the vibrancy and the way that they executed it and pulled it all together into one game. All that together makes this a very, very good game. It doesn't crack into the top 2 in my mind because of certain issues with, the UI and the crafting mechanisms are just maybe a little bit too weird for a game. I mean, I like it when people try to make their games realistic. With the same token, it's a game. I still want to be able to play the game and not put it down after an hour going, screw this game, I'm done. I still want to be able to play and have a good time. So it would be higher on my list except for that. But as it is, fantastic game. You could definitely do worse buying something else on Steam. So for those reasons, this gets number 3 on my list. Okay, it's me. You knew this was going to make the list somewhere. You knew it was. Don't tell me you didn't think it wasn't going to make the list, because you knew it was going to make the list because it's me, and you know how much I love this game. No Man's Sky in at number 2. It would have been number 1, but we'll go into that in just a second. I remember when this game came out in 2016. I remember seeing the E3 trailer. I remember seeing the Jimmy Kimmel bit with Sean Murray and the developers. And after that, I stopped listening because I was like, you know what? This is the game I have always wanted. This is the game I've always wanted to play. This is the game I've always wanted to own because I am a giant space nerd. I've always wanted to be an astronaut, except I'm 6'3" and, a little bit overweight and have a bad back. And all these things probably preclude me from the astronaut training program unless Elon Musk gets his way. And by the way, Elon, if you're watching, I will take that free trip to Mars one way. I don't care. Put me on a rocket and send me there. So this game, I drooled over for 3 years until it finally came out. Bought the game, release day, played it, loved it. Didn't listen to anything else. I didn't listen to Reddit. I didn't go on Twitter. I didn't go on Facebook. Nothing. I did nothing about that. I heard none of the hate train that rose out of the hype train for the game because I didn't care. I loved the game. I loved the fact that you could go exploring anywhere, that you could go to any one of those stars that you see on the map, any single one of them. They're all places you can go with things you can discover and stuff no one's ever seen before. Literally, you could go for years, tens of years, hundreds of years, and never find another soul because you're all exploring your own thing. You're all going in your own direction. You're all doing your own thing. It's just a beautiful experience of a game. I don't know what else to say. You know what? I'm going to say a lot more. I do know what else to say. The game has been described by a lot of the people who jumped on the hate train after the game released as deep as an ocean, or wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle. That's how that saying goes. I never felt that way. I always felt that there was something more to discover, that there was something else beyond the horizon, the next star system, the next planet, the next hill, the next gully. I was going to find something I'd never seen before, and every single time I have played this game, I have found things that I have never, ever seen before. Every single time. Without fail, I always find something that I have never seen before, and I find things that other people have never seen before. When I was doing my Twitch streams for this game, we would run across stuff, and I would see people in the chat saying, I've never even heard of that, let alone seen it. The amount of depth in the game was very deceiving, because people would go to 4 or 5 planets and go, well, everything looks the same, I'm going to stop. There's an issue with that. The issue with that is, think about us as a civilization. Think about, we've only been a spacefaring race for not quite even 60 years. It was 1959 that Sputnik got launched. So it hasn't even been 60 years that we've been exploring space, and we haven't really explored much outside of our own solar system, other than by telescope. So to think that you're going to go to 5 planets and not find the cool whoopty thing that you want to find, and then just go, there's nothing else out here, I quit. That's the issue, and that's why this game exists. It doesn't exist for people who want to go, run and shoot, or want to have a bunch of action or all that. It's for people like me who know that this is a long game that we're playing, that the space exploration just in general is a long game. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a very interesting quote that he talks about with the SETI project and finding life on other planets and other star systems. Right now, in our period of history, we've basically gone to the ocean with a Dixie cup, dipped a Dixie cup in the ocean, looked into the cup and went, well, there's no whales in there, therefore they must not exist. No, it's just because your sample size isn't big enough. So, and that's very true. And No Man's Sky is a lot the same way. No Man's Sky rewards you for going out and exploring as much as you possibly can by giving you something every time you do that you've never seen before. It might not be what you actually intended to go find, but you always find something that is new and exciting that you've never seen. There's a lot of planets where you go to and there's, I've seen this type of floor before. I've seen these types of creatures before. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. That's the thing. That's what the universe is. There's a lot of things that are the same or similar, but then occasionally you run into something that's completely brand new. That's what science is. That's what space is. That's what exploration's about. It's not about stopping after you find 5 things that are just the same. I mean, think about it. Christopher Columbus crossing the ocean. If he'd have been crossing the ocean and about, 3 days in went, well, still more ocean, guess we'll turn back, guess I was wrong. No, he didn't do that. He just kept going because he was an explorer at heart and he wanted to discover something new. And the only way to do that is to have patience and perseverance to do it. And that's the way you have to play this game, is you have to have patience and perseverance to be able to find interesting things. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 58 systems, and you find a lot of the same kinds of things you've seen before. But then on that 59th system, you want to find something that's just totally new, totally different, you've never seen before. I remember the first time I saw my first river in a canyon. I was astounded. And that was in version 1.3, by the way. That was version 1.2. That was not in Atlas Rises. It was before everything had been revamped. And it was before Pathfinder and Foundation, so I guess it was 1.1. So people said, well, there's no rivers, there's no canyons, there's no mountains, blah, 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 blah. But there were. I had seen them. I had pictures of them. It didn't happen. Guess what? I had pics. It happened. I had witnesses in chat that saw it too. They were there. You just had to look. You had to have patience to be able to look for them. And that's where this game flourishes, is that it gives people like me who always wanted to be an explorer, who always wanted to go to space, always wanted to be an astronaut, who've been space nerds since they were 4 years old, or in my case, since I was 2 years old, and I was sitting in a drive-in in Casa Grande, Arizona, in the middle of frickin' May, when it was 105 degrees outside, watching Star Wars at the drive-in through those tinny speakers. And I fell in love with space and science fiction and space exploration and all of that. And then from then on, I was hooked. Whole shuttle program, I watched almost every launch for the first, 5 years of their launches. I would find ways to watch it. This is that game. This was built for space nerds like me. And as far as a sandbox game, you can't get a bigger sandbox than the universe. I mean, how can you find a bigger sandbox than that? And the survival mechanics aren't realistic survival mechanics. They're much more stylized survival mechanics. And the art style of the game, too. Well, we're talking about stylized. The art style of the game, it looks like a 70s movie poster, and it's beautiful. And I love it. I loved it from day one. I love it then. I love it now. With the new update, that the biomes have gotten better. The creatures are more interesting. The stuff that you can find is more interesting. So they've put that more interesting bit in there for people to try to bring them back to the game. I understand that. To me, I opened No Man's Sky for the first time in months today because of different reasons that I don't really want to go into. I hadn't played Next. I hadn't touched it since Next hit, and I was blown away. I remember how I was saying I was very impressed by Long Dark. I was blown away by everything that I saw in No Man's Sky. It was gorgeous. It was amazing. It felt much more real. It felt much more alive, much more vibrant. Some of the new mechanics are just great. Some of the things that they put into the game, the third-person view, the models, all those things, God, those are great. It's just, all of it is so good. And I really feel bad for people that won't give the game another chance, or just gave up on the game after, 10 hours or 12 hours and then went on Reddit or Twitter or wherever and just posted vitriol about the game. I feel bad for those people because you're missing out on such a wonderful experience playing this game, especially if you're a space nerd. Oh my goodness, just so many different things about this game are so good. The soundtrack by 65 Days of Static is fantastic. The graphics are stylized and amazing. The ship combat, now that they've improved that as well, feels so good, and it feels like you're accomplishing something when you shoot down a pirate or fly around and different things. The new animations for landing are great. The freighter system, the fleet system, so much of this game is trial and error by Hello Games. They really have learned from their mistakes and have incorporated things into the game that they've always wanted to see, and taking player feedback, and they've built an amazing game with a fantastic experience. Now, having said that, I'm not going to put on my Hello Games colored glasses all the time, because the UI still needs a desperate amount of work. It's obviously a UI that was built for a PlayStation or built for a controller that they ported over to a PC, and it feels really strange doing things like recharging your shields or building and stuff like that. Those things still feel weird and kind of jammed in because of the way that the game was originally built, and it's still being built for consoles with Xbox coming out, which is, I don't fault them for that at all. The UI just needs some help. It really does. It needs some assistance to be able to make it more friendly for PC players, as well as still being friendly for the console players. So there are those issues. You still get occasional crashes here and there. Not as much as other people have. I haven't had anywhere near the amount of issues with crashing and corrupted save files and things like that other people have. I've never actually had a corrupted save file. I've had the quest bug where the quest is telling you 700,000 light years away. So for those reasons, those couple of little nitpicky, I know they seem kind of nitpicky, but once you've been playing the game for a while and you're in the middle of a space battle and trying to recharge your shields, you'll realize how not nitpicky these problems are. So just those little nitpicky reasons, I can't put it at number one. Now, this is not to say this is not my favorite game, because it is. This list is all about what I think the best sandbox / open world / survival games are, not my favorite. This is still my favorite game of all time, ever made, period. Beats Zelda, beats Super Mario, beats Suikoden, beats Final Fantasy, beats them all. It beats them all. It meets Mass Effect 1 and 2, and I love Mass Effect 1 and 2. Beats them. It is such an amazing experience for someone like me who wants to be an explorer, who wants to go to the stars, who wants to be a discoverer of all things strange and beautiful, but can't because of, technological reasons and medical reasons or what have you. This is that game. This is the game for me. It's so well done. And I'm so glad that Hello Games didn't give up on it after the hype train turned into the hate train. And they just continued putting more time into it, putting more resources into it, putting more people on it, keeping the dream alive, doing what they could to make the game as good as it is. I mean, it's astounding. The game is astounding. It is worth going and paying full price for. You can probably find it on sale. I bought it for $60. I've never regretted it. I've put thousands of hours in this game, and I love it. And for that reason, it's number 2 on my list and my favorite game of all time. But not number 1, because number 1 is something special. So yeah, I don't know how you can have a best of sandbox and open world games and not have Minecraft as number 1. I'm a 43-year-old man with 2 kids, and I love Minecraft, and I make no apologies. This game, since it came out, really is not only the grandfather, but just the gold standard of sandbox games, maybe ever. It's such a simple idea, too. I was one of those people that I picked up Minecraft way late. I didn't want to play it for years and years, so I thought, it's a kid's game, and who cares? It's 10 years old, blah, 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 blah. I picked it up because my old computer had crashed, and my new computer wasn't there yet, and I only had my old crappy laptop. And I didn't really have any other choices. And then there's this guy who I watch on Twitch named Ishi, who played a lot of Minecraft, and I was like, you know what? It's $20 on sale. I'll try it. What the hell? And as soon as I started playing it, I went, this is something that I haven't experienced before, because it's literally the only game I've ever played, even with No Man's Sky, and even as much as I love No Man's Sky, it's the only game I've ever played where there are no limits. You are only limited by your imagination and what you can do. Even in No Man's Sky, you can't, like, everything isn't 100% destructible. There are certain things you just can't blow up. Minecraft, you can blow up everything. you can blow up the planet. No one cares. It's totally open, totally sandbox. Everything is at your disposal, and it's only limited by as far as your imagination can take you. It's almost the perfect game. As far as if you want a survival game, if you want a crafting game, if you want a sandbox game, if you want a quest game, all those things. You can have all those things in Minecraft. And whether you're playing vanilla or modded, you can, if you can think of something that you want to do in Minecraft that isn't in Minecraft right now, go to Nexus, or not go to Nexus, go to the Cris client, which is now the Twitch client. Go to the Twitch client and just type it in a search, and you can probably find someone who's made a mod for it. There are mods for super hardcore modes. There are mods for really high tech. There's magic mods, dragons, post-apocalypse. There's a Fallout version. Someone made PUBG and Minecraft as a mod. Seriously, you've got that. You've got a Battle Royale version. Anything you want to do in a video game, you can do in this game. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't some issues with the game. Like, the graphics obviously don't look like graphics in a modern game. But they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be this blocky-looking, pixelated thing. That's the charm of it, is that to being able to see a world that's actually very beautiful, built in nothing but squares. That's something about that. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's just my ADD or my brain really likes this whole square thing. So it's only limited by your imagination as far as what you can do. And even me having played it for a fair amount of time now, I still have just barely scratched the surface on what the game has to offer, whether it is vanilla or modded. I mean, I've never actually been the first one to get to the end, whether on a server or solo. I'm always, following other people going there. I've never killed the Ender Dragon by myself in a solo game. I haven't done a lot of the things you can do. I haven't built like some of these crazy redstone things that you see people like, Mumbo build, Mumbo Jumbo or those guys, or the guys in the Direwolf server. I've never built anything close to being that complex. And yet I know it's out there, but I don't feel pressured to get there, because I can take the game at my own pace and do whatever I want and have a good time and just have fun doing it. So, and if you notice in my gameplay here, you can obviously tell I'm not like some elite, Minecraft pro for certain. I run away from things an awful lot, and I get lost an awful lot. Like in this particular playthrough, you're going to see here in a couple of minutes, I literally lost my house. And you can see my head. It's this big brick structure on the shore. How do you lose that? Well, you go over a hill, and then all of a sudden all the hills look the same, and now you got to figure out, how do I get home? And because this is vanilla and not modded, I have no map. So I have no way of being able to tell. So I just have to sort of explore around. But while exploring around, I find really cool things that I haven't seen before. Very much like No Man's Sky. Every time I play Minecraft, I see something brand new. And that's the other thing about Minecraft, is think about every time you start a new game, whether it is vanilla or modded or what have you, especially if you're playing solo, you see things in Minecraft that no one's ever seen before, because it's a brand new world created just for you that you can go explore, or just for you and your friends or whomever you got on your server. And there's something just primal about that appeals to that explorer sense of my brain that says, I want to see things that no one else has ever seen. Well, guess what? I just created a new world that no one's ever seen. Now, the only people that have seen this world are me and you out there watching. You're the only ones, along with myself, who have ever seen this world, or probably ever will see this world. No one else will ever see this house but you and I. No one else will ever see this pirate ship I'm about to come up on but you and I. No one will ever see this particular biome that we're in, or that hill over there. No one's ever going to see that again, probably, because it's totally unique every single time you play. Every playthrough is different. So there's no way I couldn't put this at number one. As much as I love No Man's Sky, and as much as it is my favorite game, I can't, in all good conscience, put it above Minecraft, because a lot of the things you see in No Man's Sky were actually taken from Minecraft as far as some of the ideas for, the crafting or the destructible environments, procedural generation. All those things were kind of taken from Minecraft. And I mean, I know no one at Hello Games would want to necessarily admit that they copied some of the things from Minecraft, but honestly, if you look at any of the survival crafting open world sandbox games that are out there right now, all of them took ideas from Minecraft. Every single one. There isn't one you can find that doesn't have a crafting wheel or a crafting grid or, a table. Fallout 4 has the weapons workbench. No Man's Sky has your exosuit. 7 Days to Die has their crafting benches. Long Dark has workbenches that you can find in dwellings that you can use to make different things. Every single one of these games took their cue from Minecraft. Minecraft is not only the grandfather, but is still, to this day, the gold standard. They just came out with the 1.13 update a few months ago. And the aquatic update, it's great. It's really, really good. There's new things you can find, new things you can craft, new things you can do, new weapons, new items. And then they've got another one coming out, 1.14, which is going to be revamping villages entirely. Brand new generation for all the villages, different mechanics, different weapons. So they're constantly still, to this day, updating the game over and over and over again. So they're not updating it, like they're not doing a graphics overhaul. They're not doing a mechanics overhaul. All they're doing is basically saying, we like the graphics, we like the mechanics, those are fine. If you want different graphics or mechanics, there's, texture packs out there. There's a modding community out there. We're not even going to do that. We're going to concentrate on core gameplay and storytelling, environmental storytelling through some of these updates that we're bringing out. And that is beautiful. So many companies, when they come out with a game that the modding community gets a hold of and really likes, seem to just sort of forget the fact that there's a modding community and they start reinventing the wheel. Like Bethesda's a perfect example with Creation Club versus mods. Some of the things on Creation Club I like, but for the most part, they're all just things that have already been done by the modding community. It's like they don't even realize a modding community exists. There have been different mods for 7 Days to Die that make 7 Days to Die a better game. There have been mods for No Man's Sky. I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's the Ray Rod's overhaul. Ray Rod's overhaul for No Man's Sky is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But the things that the top 4 on this list anyway, have in common is that they don't worry about reinventing the wheel. They concentrate on core mechanics and core gameplay and environmental storytelling for their games versus trying to reinvent the wheel and do graphics overhauls and they get the new sexy thing in. No, they do what they do. They like their game. They're going to go through and basically just keep adding on to what they have. And that's why they are on this list. Even Fallout 4 to some extent, because a lot of the times the vanilla game for Fallout 4 is good. The mods are really, really good. The Creation Club added a few things here and there. But the 5 games on this list have basically concentrated on core gameplay and the core mechanics and just built on those rather than trying to go through and revamp it every single time to try and make some new segment of the population happy with the game and get them to buy it. Minecraft, no. Same exact graphics, same exact gameplay. And now they're just adding on to that because they like their graphics, they like their gameplay. It's simple, it's straightforward. The UI is very easy to understand. The recipes are easy to understand. The gameplay itself feels fun. It's obviously very, very stylized and very, very cartoony, but it's a lot of fun to do. Like the survival mechanics aren't ridiculous, and the combat feels good. And the combat not only feels good, but the combat sometimes feels dangerous. Like, you're running around with a stone sword and no armor, and you see a creeper running at you, you're going the other direction. Discretion is being the better part of valor. I'm running away. Because you don't want to lose all your stuff, you don't want to lose all your progression, all your levels, all those different things. So it mixes a really good sense of fun, cartoonish humor, danger, exploration, and then, sometimes you just want to fish. So sometimes you just want to fish, have a good time, and that's really about it. That's all you want to do. And you can do that in Minecraft. There's no worries about doing that at all. You can just go outside your house, do some fishing, hang out, have a good time, maybe take your boat around and spin on an island, get away from the creepers and all that, run away from the drowned because the drowned are there. Sometimes you just want to hang out and relax, and you can do that in Minecraft, which you can't do in a lot of other survival crafting open world sandbox, whatever you want to call it, games. It's always like, well, I got to do this and this and this and this and this. Minecraft, you can just go, you know what? I'm going to step back. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to fish, or I'm going to farm, or I'm going to build a road to nowhere for no good reason because I can. All of those things combined make Minecraft what it is, which is honestly, in my opinion anyway, the best of the sandbox open world games out there, and probably will be for a long time. I don't see anything replacing it anytime soon. I really don't. It's almost the perfect game if it weren't for certain things in the game that kind of get on your nerves sometimes, but it's almost the perfect game as far as all the different things you can do, and that's why it's number one on the list. It's the grandfather. It's the gold standard. That's not going anywhere. So it is number one, and deservedly so. And there it is, folks. That's my top 5 sandbox, survival, crafting, open world games. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. This was a rough video to make. This is actually one of the rougher ones for me to make, just looping everything together and making it all make sense and all that. But I had a blast making the video. I hope you had a good time as well. If you did like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe. Dislike it if you didn't happen to like it, or if you disagree with my list. If you do disagree with my list, by all means, go to the comments below, put in your own list, comment away, have fun with that. Make sure you go out this weekend, play some games, have some fun. I will see you all again soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.